how do I make this experience that much better for the people that are here? Because those are the people that are sticking with me. What do we do? Where do we focus? How do we manage all this? How do we manage all of the chaos and stress and frustration of a tryout season? Engage in the people who are there with you. Focus on them. They are the client. They are the person who is there trusting you and investing in your product. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are going to be talking about how I try to focus myself and my staff during tryout season and some of the challenges that come with it. Now, before we get into the episode, head on over to Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook, All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners as well on Facebook, and you've joined those groups. Check out nextgenowners.com. And lastly, we have our June conference coming up in Dallas, Texas, June 21st through the 23rd. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and you are not going to want to miss it. So make sure you are getting registered for that conference. I think we only have like 50 tickets left. So make sure that if you are planning on coming, you are getting those tickets. You're getting in before we are sold out. Now, we are going to get into this whole concept of how I try to focus myself and my staff during tryout season. And one of the challenges with tryout season is you're basically competing for athletes to cheer for you. And it can kind of feel a little bit icky sometimes, especially when you have kids who've been with you for a while who are leaving, or even new athletes that may come and try out, and they're trying out at multiple gyms, and you are really worried about, hey, I want this kid to cheer here. They're really talented, or they've got a great energy or a great vibe or all of the above. And you're really hoping that athlete chooses to join your program, and then they don't. And it feels kind of disappointing. It's like being passed over. It's like being broken up with, kind of, it's just like that, like, oh, I wasn't good enough feeling. And I talked about this before too, about like becoming emotionally invested and some of those things. It also goes into like when people leave that have been with you, especially when people leave in a bad way, right? When they are kind of setting the bridge on fire as they walk across, and they are trying to take a bunch of people with them, and they're being really negative, and they're saying all sorts of horrible, awful things about you, even though maybe you were great to them, or you felt you were great to them, or you thought that you were friends, or things like that. So it can be a really icky feeling. On top of that, you have a ton of stress about trying to find enough members to field each team and putting kids on the right team. And should we cross this kid over, or should we not? Should we do no crossovers? What do we do? Where do we focus? How do we manage all this? How do we manage all of the chaos and stress and frustration of a tryout season? And athletes are equally stressed during tryout season. Parents are equally stressed during tryout season. So the whole thing can feel very anxious sometimes. How do we proceed? Well, when we look at people leaving, or people choosing to go to another program, or even people just saying, you know what, I just don't want to cheer anymore, it can be really, really stressful. And to be honest, I hate it. Even when they're kids that have never cheered for me personally, they're just athletes that have cheered in my program. When I see kids leaving, I hate it. I really don't like it, especially when they're doing that burn the bridge down on the way out, which I've had a couple of very recently. And it's been a little bit shocking, very caught off guard by the way it kind of went down with a few people. The reality is that is literal fuel to improve. Now, that's me personally. And if you can do this, I say that is more motivation, right? Like, just, is it good to live in a negative headspace? No. But is it okay to use negative experiences and turn them into something positive? Like, okay, I'm just going to use this as inspiration to be better, instead of taking the route of, I'm going to, sit in a dark room and cry. I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to work that much harder. I'm going to watch more videos. I'm going to coach that much more effectively. I'm going to be that much better. And yes, there is a little bit of like, to prove the doubters wrong. And I hate the mindset of, F the haters. They don't know what they're thinking. That vibe that was really, really popular like 7 years ago. I never liked it. I never thought that was a good headspace to live in. but it can be a really good motivation for a short period of time to kind of reinvigorate you, especially when you have two options, or really you have three, right? You have number one option, which is to just not care, not be unflappable, be Buddha, be able to be like, everything is fine. I am not worried. All things are great. I don't have that capability. I'm not Buddha. I can then go one of two ways. I can be depressed, or I can be almost pissed off, not really, aggressively motivated to be better. And I am always going to default to the be aggressively motivated to be better and prove anyone that doubted me wrong. And I've had lots of people doubt me throughout my life. I know for a fact that there are people out there when I started the gym, or as we've gone through some of our trials and tribulations, that were like, those guys don't know what they're doing. They're going to fail. It's never going to work. You better believe when I started Dream Camps and I started saying, I'm going to offer something special. I'm going to offer something that is a competitor to places like Camp Woodward. I'm competing essentially on the summer camp space against varsity. There were a lot of people that were like, that's never going to work. You shouldn't be trying to cater to high schools. You shouldn't be trying to do those things because there's already a stranglehold. You're never going to be successful. And that was just fuel to me. That was like, watch me be better. I will do that. So I try to live more there in the just watch me headspace than I do in the negative mindset headspace. The next thing I want you to do, and I try to do for my staff and myself, is as I take that motivation, as I take that fire and passion, is I try to refocus on my current clients and delivering for them. I want to go, okay, how do I make this experience that much better for the people that are here? Because those are the people that are sticking with me. Those are the people that are still by my side. Those are the people that I can deliver for. I can't change the mind of the people that left, but what I can do is I can focus on delivering for these people right now. And I really doubled down on this many years ago. We went through a really rough patch in our program where we had a number of people leave, and they left with a lot of negativity. And we had made mistakes. I was never going to convince those people who were leaving that they were wrong, because some things they were actually right about. We had a couple staff that weren't doing a great job. They weren't really representing our brand and the way we wanted to do things. Story for another day. But I just use that as an opportunity to refocus on the people that were here, that the people that were in front of me, because those are the people that I can actually impact, instead of spending all my time thinking about the people that are behind me and not actually there. Refocusing on your current clients, refocusing on the teams that you have right now, refocusing on the kids that have chosen you. I think it is always important to remember that even when you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people who may be saying really negative things about you, or may dislike you, may have been once close to you, there are still hundreds, dozens, hundreds, however big your footprint is, of people that appreciate you and love you and are grateful for what you provide. So focus on those people, because those people you can deliver for, right? You want to be living in the moment for them because they're there. You don't want to be living in the moment of the past for the people that left you. I would equivocate this to if you were to break up with someone and then you're in a new relationship. If you do everything in your new relationship to try to make your ex happy, or everything they would have wanted, then you're actually not doing things for your new relationship. So engage in the people who are there with you. Focus on them. They are the client. They are the person who is there trusting you and investing in your product. Now, my number 3 kind of relates to that, but it is get feedback from the people that have stayed with you. Get feedback from the people that are there. Oftentimes what I see gym owners do, and oftentimes what our default is, I've done this myself, is you try to figure out why the person who was unhappy left. You try to focus on fixing what was their motivation for leaving. Now, sometimes that is valid, right? Sometimes there is a good reason to kind of look at, okay, a group of people left. What was their problem? Was their problem a coach? Was their problem something we delivered on? Was their problem communication? Is there something we can do better to avoid people getting into this negative mindset at some point in time? So that is totally relevant to look at for a brief period. But what I really want to know and what I really want to get feedback from is the people who are here now, because those are the people that I'm going to be delivering a product to. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving them what they're needing. Do I want to look at past practices and make sure I don't make previous mistakes? Yes. But this is one of the reasons I'm cautious on exit interviews. Now, I think exit interviews are good in a lot of ways because sometimes you can mitigate the exit and you may be able to learn some key things. It would be like building your business. If you build everything you do based off of an exit interview, someone leaving, especially who's leaving unhappy, right? If you base everything off of those are people who no longer want your product anymore. So they're not buying it. And if I focus all of my energies and all of my intentionality around fixing the things that made them unhappy, I'm ignoring the people who are currently there that may have a different need or a different desire and may even disagree with the person that left. So if I do exit interviews with everyone and they say, we're leaving because this gym down the street offers more training, they call extra practices, they have 5 practices a week, and we want that. We want that level of intensity. Or maybe they say, we're going there because they level everyone 2 to 3 levels down, and so they win, and that's what we want. And you go, oh, shoot, that's what I need to do. And then you reformat your program off of the people that left. And then the people that stay are like, they're not the people that want a million extra practices. They want a clear and consistent schedule. They're busy working people who don't want a bunch of extra practices, or you level everything down and they're people who that is not what they value. So you've got to talk to the people that are there and consuming your product now and get their feedback because they're your client. Now, can you fix other things? Yes, absolutely. If you have people leave because billing was a hot mess, or communication was bad, or you didn't get information out clearly, or there was a negative coach or negative family or negative athlete that ruined the experience for them. Those are things that you do want to listen to, but you don't want to just rebuild or change your entire program based off of someone who's leaving. So I try to keep my staff and myself focused on who is in front of me, who's here, and get their feedback, figure out what they are wanting to get out of this and help them find their success within the program. When people leave, it's stressful. Tryouts are stressful. When you're placing teams, it's stressful. It is not easy to determine where every athlete goes. I understand. I've been there. I've had the conversations where you're looking at this kid and you're like, man, this is the right placement for them. They belong on this level 2 team. That's really where they're going to be the most successful. And then you have the other coach who says, yeah, but they told me yesterday that if they make level 2, they're going to quit. And you're like, okay, well, do I build this team knowing that this kid's potentially going to quit? Or do I put them on the level 3 because I want them to stay? How do you manage all of it's so stressful. As we wrap this all up, you have to focus on delivering the gym that you want your gym to be. You ultimately, as a gym owner and as a staff, if you guys are working collaboratively on this, which I encourage, you guys determine the kind of program you want to be. You determine the direction that you're going. And if you're all working together to go in the same direction, you're all on the same sheet of music of what kind of program you want to be, you're going to find that these moments are far less stressful. Back in the old days when we used to place teams right after tryouts and we didn't do level groups and everyone was kind of on a different page, and it was kind of this, every single coach was always trying to make their team the best with no consideration of any other team. Man, we would have some knockdown, drag out fights, like arguments over what team was what and what teams we were going to have and all these different things. And since we've actually switched to a completely different format in terms of practicing in level groups and coaches kind of know who they're picking from, we work a lot more collaboratively. We have had very few, if any, major disagreements when we're placing teams. There are some discussions. There are some like, well, I think they'd be better here, or can we cross this kid? There's those conversations, but it's much less stressful because we're not battling each other. I get that it can feel like a trickle down effect, especially if you have higher level teams. One of the challenges we have in our gym is that we have we're a D2 gym. We have less than 125 kids in our elite program. And we have a level 6, we have a level 4, we have a level 4.2, a 3, a 2, a 1. And so it can feel sometimes like, oh, all the good kids go to level 6 and level 4. I totally know that. And it's even made worse because our level 4 is a medium. So it's like, Dan takes 30 kids on his level 4 team. That's 30 of our 125, and then another 22 on our level 6 team. So half of our kids are in our upper level. Or close to half. So it can feel very like, man, what we're left with what's left over for staff, but it's really not. It's actually the right kids in the right places. So as you leave this episode, I just want to encourage you to take those moments and use the negatives, turn those around to positives, use them as fuel, use them as motivation, refocus on your current clients, gather feedback from them, and then implement changes that are going to make your current clients more happy within your program. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, share it with someone who you think would get something great out of it. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.